So our talk title this morning is You Matter. And I will share with you that we used to do the titles from the people did around the world that Centers for Spiritual Living shared. And then we sort of felt like they were kind of going in a different direction. And so we started coming up with our own, and I was coming up with the titles. And David would often ask me, what is that title exactly about? What do you mean by that? And I never totally got it until recently when he's been coming up with the titles. And now I'm going, what exactly are you meaning by that? And I love that interplay. I love how we are each so unique, and we each want to be on the same page as much as possible as we present, and yet still we are each so individual that we come from a different point of view that leads to the same place. And what I know is that that's true for all of us. So if we're each given a question and we're all given the same question, we would get as many answers as we have in the room. Of course, with Science of Mind people, we get a lot of love answers, right? Because it feels so good, and we know how important it is. But our message today is, You Matter. And when I said, do you mean by that you matter as in you're important in this life experience? Or do you mean you, meaning you are matter and so much more? And he said, the first one. The first one, the idea that each one of us matters because we are of God. We are of this one experience. So, hear this loudly and boldly, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what is going on around you, regardless of how others may feel about you, and even, yes, regardless of how you may feel about yourself in any given moment, you matter. And I think that those words are really, really valuable words. So let's take a deep look today at why we matter. Because I can remember times when I would tell my children, you matter, and they go, oh, Mom, you have to say that, you're my mother. And I would say, no, it's much, much deeper than that. Why do we matter? Author Christian Robinson wrote, for anyone who isn't sure if they matter, you do. There is a mental power in knowing that we matter. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, tells us that while affirmations have real power, they only hold the power that we speak into them. And by speak into them, he doesn't just mean words that we mumble. He means words that we speak and that we take into ourself, into our heart, and we truly realize them. Not just because we become able to know them and understand them, but because we become able to live them, living the words that we speak. And yet at the same time, we can only speak an affirmation that we know and understand, and one that is part of our personal experience. And that is not just true for us, but it is true for all people. So when we go about trying to convince someone, like I did with my children, that they matter just because I said so, it just doesn't work. Each individual person must come into a deep and personal experience of the divine, a deep and personal experience with God, with Spirit. And as we know that within ourselves, it grows us. It expands us. It helps us to realize what is going on in our life and how powerful we are to make changes as we desire. So securing an understanding of God, an understanding of God as all that is, is vital, and to experience that one life, coursing through all of life, coursing through your life and my life, is also of great importance. It is in the experience of knowing God that we are able to take the experience out into the world. And friends, I know you know this too. Not everyone is experiencing that. Not everyone is experiencing the understanding of knowing one life, the understanding that you have the power to change your own life. And it's judgmental for us to think that they should, if that is not of their understanding of their experience. It is as we love one another and demonstrate within our own life that which is of truth, that which brings power to all people, power for good, that we will create a world that works well for everyone. So a few statistics that demonstrate that we have a ways to go. In 2019, suicide was the 10th leading cause of death among people in the United States. It was the second leading cause of death for people ages 10 to 34. The second leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 34. We have some work to do. Major depressive disorder affects over 16 million adults in a given year. 16 million. That's staggering. And so there is some work to do. And each of us may have at times felt some of that depression, some of that sense of a loss of hope. But I would venture to say that when your God self, your recognition and realization of the truth of life, your God self, has been developed enough, it is strong enough to know that you can overcome, to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that there is a pasture that is greener than what you are envisioning in this moment. In The Power of Belief, Ernest Holmes wrote, we can effectively affirm only that which we know, and we know only that which we are. So to the degree that we know our truth, that we know that we matter, that we are individual expressions of that one power, that perfect power, we claim it and we live it. Our life choices demonstrate it. Mentally committing to an equivalent understanding of one life and the important role that we play in this life provides that something special within, that invisible power. And so the first, most important place to look whenever we are out there living life, whether we're in a positive state of mind or a negative state of mind, is to look within to that God power and ask it to guide and direct us, to affirm and know that it is guiding us and directing us. And then after listening, take the action for which we are guided. We can hear words or read words that touch our hearts, but when we experience within ourselves the depth of this one omnipotent life, it's life-changing. There is beauty for us to behold, and we are the beholder. So we have to get out there and realize that. And I thought of this today as I was thinking about it, because, or not today, but this week, as I was thinking about this talk, because, you know, I think I talk about this a lot. I talk about the importance of knowing God within and allowing that to lead us forward. And so I thought, about the idea that we must realize our place as a spiritual representative of God. We are here because we are of God. Therefore, we are doing God work. God work. We are a spiritual representative of God. And David is going to tell us some more about how that shows up.
Yes, I am. When I first came across this idea for the talk, You Matter, I was thinking about at Halloween time we all put on masks, or we used to anyway. Put on a mask and say, what am I going to be this year? And when I put on my costume. And then after Halloween's all, we take that mask off. When we put back on the mask that we feel like we need to be able to fit into society and to be our acceptable selves. And what's important for us to remember is we are our acceptable selves without a mask. But how often do we ever feel that way? However, how often do we actually feel that we are worthy unless we fall into some tradition or some idea, something outside of us that influences us to be something other than what we are? The truth is, we are perfect just as we are. God is constantly expressing itself beautifully, uniquely, and perfectly in, through, and as each of us all the time. Our authentic selves are what we are expressing God through us in a unique, beautiful way. And if we did not have that unique, beautiful expression, no one else would be able to see that one facet of the face of God. So it's important for us to be authentic, to be real, and to really know who we are. I love the phrase that the light of love and truth longs to be shown through you. The light of love and truth longs to be shown through you. It reminded me of the time when we were going trick-or-treating, we all were given flashlights to go out. And all my brothers and I were all fascinated by the flashlights. And so we would use the flashlight, put it over our hands so we could see our bones in our hands. We'd put it around our mouth and things, and see the light emanating through us. I remember a friend of mine in college who we called him the human jack-o'-lantern, because he would light a match and stick it inside his teeth, and it would glow. It was kind of strange. But actually, I just have to think about those things. The light of love and truth longs to be shown through you. You need to be your authentic self. And those people that I remember in those unique situations, I remember because they were being their true, unique, authentic selves. There are a lot of people I remember throughout life because they were their true, authentic selves. When they tried to be something that they weren't, they didn't make an impression on me. The more you show up as yourself, the more I will remember you. So therefore, we need to awaken to the profound depth of our inner being. Awaken to that truth, that wholeness, of that immensity of who we are. So say it with me. Today I choose to live my life to my highest potential. Today I choose to live my life to my highest potential. How often do you actually do that? Quite often we may think about that, I feel like I'm really expressing myself, I'm really living up to my highest potential, but then I think most of the time we kind of fall off and just kind of cozy, move our way through life and seem to be bouncing off of other things. How often do you actually consider that as an absolute priority in your life, to choose to live your life in your highest potential? Shel Silverstein says, there's a voice inside you that whispers all day long, I feel that this is right for me, I know that this is wrong. No teacher, preacher, parent, friend, or wise man can decide what's right for you. Just listen to the voice that speaks inside. Shel Silverstein, a real science of mind kind of guy. There is a voice always within you whispering your true, authentic self. Can you have the courage to be that? To realize that you matter, you are important, and how you show up in the world is really, really valuable. Emerson talks a lot about this in his essay, Self-Reliance. He says to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. To constantly be yourself when everyone else is trying to get you to be whatever they think you should be. And you know, people quite often have a lot of opinions of what they think someone else should be. I don't think they quite often look inside and realize what they should be. They look in the mirror and give themselves the same advice. Well, we should practice doing that. Practice being our own highest potential. Ernest Holmes says it beautifully, and I believe we can actually end our talk with this one sentence. He says, "My real self is God." Of course, he goes on from there. He says, "My real self is God, the eternal, perfect self, the one undivided self. There could be no greater wholeness or more complete wholeness." But the truth is, my real self is God. If God is all that is, then God is all I am. So therefore, my real self is God, expressing through this physical form and this personality that I am. Maya Angelou says, "We are not our brother's keeper. We are our brother, and we are our sister. We must look past complexion and see community." I think really what she's saying is, by improving ourselves, we improve our society. By creating a higher sense of self, we create a higher outlook on life and those things around us, and that which we see and project into our environment actually begins to come into manifestation. So we actually improve this society around us, and we realize we cannot be manipulated to change to fit in anyone else's mold. No one is going to save you, and this life is 100% your responsibility to be yourself, to be the best that you can be, and realize that you are important, so it's worth the effort. I love this saying, "The strong people are those who can build a firm foundation with the bricks others have thrown at them." No matter what people throw at you, you can use it to build a higher, better self and recognize your truth. So here's an exercise. Look at your daily habits and ask yourself if they are causing you to evolve, to grow, or to revolve. Are you moving forward or just moving around in circles? Are you actually moving forward in terms of letting your higher self evolve into something magnificent, which it already is, but beginning to use it so that everybody can actually be inspired by that essence of who you are, actually being God, expressing in the world, or are you just running in a hamster wheel?
Ooh, I love that. Are you revolving or evolving? Great. So there's a story about a bar of iron, and this bar of iron costs $5. And if you take the bar of iron and you make it into horseshoes, it will then be worth $12. If you take the bar of iron and you make it into needles, it will then be $3,500. If you take the bar of iron and you turn it into balance springs for luxury watches, it will then be worth $300,000. Now, the moral of that story is that likewise we determine our value by what we make of ourselves. And I would like to point out that if you are someone who really enjoys a good game of horseshoes, then the $12 is extremely valuable. And if you're someone who really loves to wear luxury watches, then the $300,000 is the value. It's not so much what we're doing or what we're turning that bar of iron or our life into. It's about what we're turning it into that gives value to your life and to the lives of others. We have been handed a gift and all the possibilities that exist in this life. We can go forth and do whatever we desire with it. So what was that you wanted to end with there? What was that affirmation? And we're going to say it. The Ernest Holmes, the first words he said,
Yes.
"My real self is God."
Yes.
Okay, together, 3 times.
My
real self is God. My real self is God. My real self is God. And so it is.